Ladies and gentlemen, now there is this aspect which, Ole Kanchori brought out in his book, Why Baba Did Not Become the Fifth. So Ole Kanchori brought out something which is very important, and I want to use it to form the basis of our analysis today. I did not want to go minus touching on it. So he was saying that it appeared to him that Ruto was all along lying to the people that he did not know about the deep state. So he kind of was only hearing that the deep state was there, and that is why you would hear William Ruto in some rallies saying, even if they have deep states, even though they have deep states, but with us we have God. So it is appearing that William Ruto was really lying to people, because in reality, that has now dawned, is that William Ruto was the one holding the deep state. In fact, according to Lekanchori, he says that President Uhuru was not even closer to the deep state or the system. And what he was holding was, in Olekanchori's perception, the shallow state. It was not deep at all. So there was that distinction, because William Ruto, having been his deputy for 10 years in government, was very strategic on what he wanted. And that is the reason why he managed to take away what Raila won. Because in our nation, like I always tell you, I did a video on that, presidency is not given. You go and take it. So the people gave Raila presidency, but William Ruto took it from Raila. So in other words, Raila gave away the presidency to William Ruto. So you only take the presidency when you have the deep state. So there is that reality that deep state is present. And in the case of 2022 general elections, the man who was owning the deep state was William Samoei Ruto, and not the president by that time, who was President Uhuru Kenyatta. In fact, President Uhuru Kenyatta was only owning the shallow state. And so Ole Kanchori concluded that when you see things unfolding right now, when you see politics taking different dimensions, and this is now my interpretation, and you see President Uhuru Kenyatta not being very vocal, and even by that time, you remember when President Uhuru Kenyatta would promise that he would support Raila Odinga in the campaigns, especially in the Mount Kenya region, but it ends up not being met. He would promise that I will take Raila Odinga to Mount Kenya, but there was no day they really traversed Mount Kenya with Raila Odinga. So in the interpretation of what I heard from Ole Kanchori, based on that chronology of events, it is now coming to the reality that President Uhuru Kenyatta, the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, feared William Ruto. And he feared William Ruto based on what he had known in the first place, what he had foreseen in the first place. He had seen that he had lost the grips of the deep state. So the main thing is that President Uhuru Kenyatta started fearing William Ruto the moment Raila came into picture. And again, Ole Kanchori was trying to portray another picture of Raila Odinga, that whenever Raila Odinga sides with a government, or whenever he teams up with the government, it is like the deep state goes underground and becomes inactive until the time it will need to resurface to go against Raila Odinga's ideology. Because according to him, in the first place, there is that automatic or the default setting of the deep state that Raila Odinga cannot be sided with. They cannot side with Raila Odinga and give Raila the presidency. Are you trying to get the sense of the fact that, William Ruto got the audacity he is now having based on what had been established in the first place between him and President Uhuru Kenyatta when President Uhuru Kenyatta was still the president, okay? This thing has roots. The audacity that William Ruto now has roots, and the roots is really deepened by the deep state. And if going forward, William Ruto now comes into office and does not take into consideration the narrative that he cheated people with, that the Hustler Nation is going to form the government. He has now come into the government and actually is flowing with the deep state. And if you now want to confirm that indeed what Ole Kanchori was saying is true, that William Ruto had the deep state, look at how he has really forgotten the Hustler Nation. Is there anything that he has really accomplished or fulfilled based on what he promised to the hustlers? There is completely nothing. Look at how he said the government will be formed with mama mbogas and watu wa mkokoteni. Are you seeing them? Just take from the literal perspective and also take from the structure. Look at the people who are on board. Are they a reflection of the hustler nation he was talking about? Never. You cannot substantiate that. And so that also is a confirmation that indeed Ruto was really established with the deep state's mechanism, to the extent that you come into power, what you used to say before is a foregone case. You are now into the new system. You now must side with the deep state that gave you the presidency. And President Uhuru Kenyatta, having feared William Ruto, having had a shallow state which only him knew, he could not combat Ruto head on. And that is why you will hear him say things, but he doesn't really attack William Ruto directly. He would say things chini ya maji. He would be very, very angry chini ya maji, but he will not confront him. He will not give directives for him, for Ruto to be dealt with, because he knew exactly what was there in the first place. And you carry it forward now and now paste it to the first term of William Ruto. President Uhuru Kenyatta cannot come out and even speak. He cannot even make statements, in as far as presidents who have served would go ahead and say, this is how the country needs to run. So there is that kind of fear that can be said that developed between President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto by then, and it was based on what had been established in the first place. President Uhuru Kenyatta having lost the grips of the deep state, remaining with the shallow state, and William Ruto, having the controls of the deep state in itself. So going forward, the audacity that we are seeing with William Ruto, if you look at how William Ruto is receiving the news, responding to the news, these revelations that are coming into effect, these leaks that are coming into effect, they are only building him, because every leak which is coming, maybe one is saying, Ruto is a very shrewd politician, is a very wise one. Ruto knows how to plan politically. Ruto knows how to manage the politics. They are building him, and so he has the audacity instead. And the other side, when you compare with Raila Odinga, Raila Odinga is complaining. He's only complaining, which of course is the norm, complaining. And even going forward, it will be very difficult for him to be displaced. And talk of the first term, the second term, it will be very difficult for William Ruto to be defeated in 2027. What do you think? What do you have from your side? What do you say about all that? May you have a great time, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you in the next analysis.